extant code currently addresses the issue of fee dependency at the firm, office, and partner level. The main changes focuses at the firm level. The board has provided enhanced guidance regarding how to determine the total fees of the firm and how to evaluate and address the threats in the case of fee dependency. The enhanced guidance is imperative to the promotion of consistent application of the international independent standards regarding the issue of fee dependency. This is also an important matter from the public interest point of view. For PI audit clients, the extant code already requires certain actions from the firm if the level of fees from one client relative to the total fees received by the firm exceeds a certain threshold for 2 consecutive years. This threshold is 15%. The board did not believe it was necessary to make any changes to the level of the threshold. However, the board was of the view that at such a level of fee dependency, only a review performed by a professional accountant outside of the firm prior to the issuance of the audit report could be capable of reducing the threat to an acceptable level. Accordingly, when reaching this threshold, the firm has to first determine whether this pre-issuance review could reduce the threats to an acceptable level. If not, then the firm should end the audit relationship. If the pre-issuance review is an appropriate safeguard, the firm can continue being the auditor and will be required to make the same determination each subsequent year as long as the fee dependency continues. The IESBA believes that this safeguard and the enhanced transparency requirements regarding fee dependency that the board has now established could appropriately mitigate the threats created. The board is also of the view that the fee dependency for public interest entity audit clients cannot continue for an indefinite time. This is because after a while, the fee dependency would become so persistent and fundamental that no safeguards would be capable of reducing the threat to an acceptable level. Therefore, the code will require the firm to cease being the auditor if the fee dependency continues for more than 5 consecutive years. Stakeholders signaled that in some situations, mainly relating to market characteristics, requiring the firm to cease being the auditor wouldn't be in the public interest. For example, some engagements could necessitate specialized skills and experiences, and therefore it would be very difficult or impossible to replace the auditor. Recognizing these situations, the board agreed to allow for an exception when there is a really compelling reason for the firm to continue as auditor after 5 years and a regulatory or professional body in the relevant jurisdiction concurs that having the firm continue as the auditor would be in the public interest. For non-PI audit clients, the board agrees to a similar approach for addressing the threats created by fee dependency as for PI audit clients, but allowing greater latitude with respect to the threshold and safeguards adopted. The board considered this would be a reasonable approach, bearing in mind the nature of the threat, the need for a proportionate approach, and the board's current project to revisit the definition of public interest entities. On balance, therefore, the code does not require the firm to cease being the auditor if the fee dependency continues for a certain period of time. However, the firm can go on with the audit engagement only if it arrives at the conclusion each year that either a pre or post-issuance review performed by a professional accountant outside of the firm could be an appropriate safeguard. Although the pronouncement does not set out explicit provisions regarding the transparency of fee-related matters for non-PI audit clients, the general provisions of the International Independent Standards encourages firms to communicate to those charged with governance matters that, based on the firm's judgment, might reasonably bear on independence. For example, of such a matter could be the fee dependency of a non-Pi client and the safeguard the firm applies or intends to apply.